Hello and welcome to Chatz, a television podcast, season 13, part 5, Chats of Prey. This is the 5th series in our season on shows misfortunate enough to be canceled before airing their 13th episode, which we've been calling 13 under 13. My name is Magellan, and this is our podcast, and we're hosting it, so we'll start wherever the fuck we want. Sorry, where we fucking want, to get the quote accurate. And the we includes Alan. Hey, Alan, what's up?
Hello. Good evening. And welcome to the show. Welcome to the best show this side of New or Old Gotham City, depending on who you're asking.
Oh, okay. That's exciting. So we've been watching Birds of Prey, the 2002, 2003 TV show about, the folks in Gotham. You got your Huntress, your Barbara Gordon Oracle, your Dinah Lance Black Canary. Of course, Huntress's name is Helena Kyle. And we watched the finale of that show this week. We also then watched the 2020 film Birds of Prey, which I feel like I should say no relation when I say that. Some relation. Some characters are named the same thing, but very different creative objectives between those two things. So we'll talk about the movie after the break. But first, let's close out our time with Birds of Prey, the aughts classic. Alan, this time around we watched episode 13, Devil's Eyes. The teleplay was written by Hans Tobison. The story by Adam Armis and Melissa Rosenberg. It was directed by Chris Long. And it aired on February 19th, 2003. I believe the same night as the previous episode. Is that right?
Correct. Right after the previous episode.
Okay. What happened in Devil's Eyes?
Well, John, a lot happened in Devil's Eyes. In the series finale of Birds of Prey 02, Harley Quinn acquires the power to hypnotize others with her eyes. She has her men kill a metahuman so she can test her new power-stealing machine and decides to hypnotize all of New Gotham to be under her control. However, Harley finally discovers Helena's secret as the Huntress, and she persuades her to reveal the secrets of the Clock Tower, along with Barbara's and Dinah's true identities. Harley finally makes her move when she leads an all-out assault on the Clock Tower, as well as taking Wade hostage, who cares, which leads to Barbara and Dinah to approach Reese, we care, to help them plan a counterattack to retake the Clock Tower, leading to all of the characters finally meeting face-to-face at the Clock Tower for an all-out confrontation between good and evil. I should mention, too, that the episode ends with Harley Quinn being incapacitated or killed? What's Harley Quinn's fate at the end of Devil's Eyes, bud?
Well, we don't kill. That's like our whole thing.
Yes. We talk about this. She's incapacitated. Like, Batman just breaks everybody's necks and spines and everything. Harley's gone. The girls are together. The guys are happy to be part of it.
Or dead.
Or dead in the case of some of them. And then that's Birds of Prey.
Yeah. So what do you think of this conclusion? What'd you think?
No, fuck. It's like you're playing Pong and the ball can't bounce back and forth, so it just hovers in the middle. Like telekinetic. Gosh, Devil's Eyes. This is a very fun, very fast-paced episode of Birds of Prey. I love how quickly everything goes. I think the character moments hit. I think the action absolutely hits. I think that they use their clock tower set really well. Watching everybody be hypnotized and unhypnotized is kind of silly and fun. I think that this serves as a mid-season finale or a series finale, depending on what you're trying to do. And I'm really curious when we get into it, where we land on how this serves or why we think that the show got canceled on this note. But I'm curious first, What did you think?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty satisfying conclusion. I was not sure whether or not to expect such a thing. It's always a dice roll. Do they know they're getting canceled, or did they plan for a mid-season break, like you're saying? And it seems here like either way, they planned and executed on an episode that closed enough loops that it feels final, but left a couple things open that you can have that feeling of, man, I wish they'd gotten a couple more episodes just so I could see what they would do next, which I don't think I actually want that, but I'm leaving the episode having the feeling of wanting a little bit more, which I think makes it a good finale. So I'm glad that despite there being a dip in the quality of episodes kind of in the middle there, Birds of Prey ends pretty strongly, I think. And it kind of leaves me saying, you know, if people are wondering, is this one worth checking out? Or should you watch it?
Oh.
I think the pilot and the finale are good and worth watching. And I think there are episodes in the middle that are and episodes in the middle that aren't. But yeah, I think they stick it here, which is nice.
Yeah, I do too. We're also gonna try to compose some sort of skip list if that's something you want to do. It sounded like from your notes.
Yeah, I would do it now. I think now's a weird time, but
he's so romantic. He would do it whenever. I'll call now. Well, first, I just wanted to say, did you want more? Were you left wanting more out of the Birds of Prey finale? And did you want a season 2 after the end of this?
That's a good question. I mean, I think what makes this episode work so well is that we finally do the Harley Quinn birds face off thing. So we've been building all this kind of dramatic irony and tension around, okay, they're rivals, but they don't know. But also, I don't know. We've talked before about how the therapeutic relationship between Harley and Helena has been kind of strange. Mm-hmm. And then I think I would have wanted to see some episodes where they like draw that out a little bit more, where we like get some more clues or get closer to them being revealed to each other. Because it felt, you know, the reveal of Helena's identity as Huntress last episode was very abrupt and supposedly happened at like a gala that felt like there were 10 people at it or something. You know, it just wasn't they didn't sell it super well with the resources that they had.
Right.
So I think even before we talk about a season 2, if this show had been assured that it would have more time, I think stretching out the lead up to this episode would have been nice. And then I think, you know, you've kind of created like a winning situation here where you don't kill. I mean, that's how Batman stories work, is like you don't kill off the Joker and then you get to use the Joker again later. So you don't kill off Harley. You could bring her back. You could bring other people from Arkham. There's lots of stuff you could do. And then, of course, there's that hanging thread at the very end, which is that Alfred gives Bruce bedtime calls goodnight, which is a little silly, but also I do kind of want to know what they would have done with that.
I really wish that they never if they had done this more, that we never see Bruce. We only hear him. And like maybe he gets more involved, you know, maybe he starts calling the birds sometimes and it's like, hey, what's up? And like Helena never wants to talk to him. Or maybe, it's just Alfred like asking him for advice and he's like, you should tell them this. And he only ever talks to Alfred. I thought that was a really like a bit of a hammy, like, hey, season 2, we got the thing that you guys wanted. Weirdly, that's the connecting thread between the two things that we watched this week, is they both end with like an explicit reference to Batman. And it's like, aren't we? Because in the post-credit scene of Birds of Prey 2020, Harley's like, you know, I'm going to tell you secrets about Batman. It's like, can you guys not escape the legacy of the Caped Crusader? Are we trapped under his shadow forever? It's like kind of poetic and also sad. But it's also baked into Birds of Prey, like the comic book characters. Birds, you know, Batman, the Bat family. This is a whole universe of characters. Which, speaking of which, I actually just finally watched, super timely, the Patrick H. Williams video on why there's no Robin in the Batman movies. And
great video.
Really great video. We talk about Patrick's videos all the time on here, but that one's really good just because he talks about, like, you know, the ethos of the Batman films is to be serious and gritty, and there is, and like the optics of having a young child with you kind of make it seem like you're in a kid's show. But Birds of Prey 02 realizes that, like, no, like relationships between mothers and daughters, fathers and sons, family, stuff like that is super nuanced and interesting and adult, and can be used in really cool ways. And if they did get a season 2, I would love to see just more references to Batman and like actually talking to him or talking about him, because I think that's the next good avenue for like Helena's character.
Right. Yeah, it sort of raises this question to me. I was, I'm not sure if I would have liked to see Batman, but it definitely got me interested in what they were thinking of doing, because it raises this question of, we're in a world that is, you could call it the Batman universe, air quotes, in the sense that all of these characters originate from Batman stories or Batman adjacent stories of some kind. And so obviously Batman exists in this universe in some way. And then weirdly, like, you have the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie that seems to be able to avoid that. Right? There's no Batman in there?
There's like a
or
Wayne... There's a Wayne family moment, but I don't think that there's Bruce himself.
Okay, gotcha. But yeah, so there's this like kind of hanging thing of, well, there's got to be a Batman somewhere, but if Batman was in it, he would be really important and take away a lot of the focus from these other characters. So I guess he has to not be in it. So then to bring him in it, you're kind of undoing that, and suddenly either you're going to make Batman a big character or make his relationship with the characters a big character, which is a big focus, which is different from like his impact on them being a focus, right?
Yeah.
And it would just take up a lot of storytelling real estate that I don't think this show is ever interested in giving to Batman. So it's an interesting choice that the final moment of the show is them saying,
"Hey,
Batman." Because then you also have to explain, like, where did he go? Why did he go? Is there an answer to those questions that's satisfying? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Unlikely, at least.
Yeah, it's just such an interesting choice.
I do want to talk about Helena's...
Like it can only exist in a finale. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like, okay, we'll wrap it up, and then like you're basically handing off the baton. If you guys want to handle this next season, you can, or we can hand wave it like it never happened, right?
Yeah. Right.
I want to talk about, in relationship to this, Helena's development in this episode, and specifically the internal struggle to share things and to be open with people, which is setting up like such a potentially cool arc for her now that she's like, okay, my identity's out there and I finally can talk to the people who I trust, which includes, unfortunately, her therapist, Tarlene Quinzel, who right away she gives up the entire ghost and says like, hey, I've got these friends and we have a secret hideout. And it's like, no, stop. You can already tell this is going to go bad. You don't say these things to your therapist. This should be common sense, but I know why you're feeling vulnerable right now. And, if you didn't already know, if you somehow went into this and didn't know that Harley's villain, like maybe you watched this episode by itself, the part where she says like, oh, Helena, that session was so satisfying to me, is where you're like, that's weird. That's a weird thing to say to your client, actually. But yeah, then she gets the hypno eyes in a moment of like brief violence where the other guy just dies and the scientist is like, he's dead. And she's like, that's fine. I don't actually care. In fact, and this part felt like it was, I read in my notes, this felt like it's out of the animated series. She tells the guy to jump out of a window and he does it. And I was like, this is hilarious. It's a little bit dark in live action, but it's still funny to me.
Yeah.
Cause that's a dead person. But we take a pause from her before she starts hypnotizing all the folks. We get some Reese and Helena flirting. We get some more Wade interrupting people at work. Did you think it was weird that Wade drives Dinah to school?
Yeah, it was confusing to me what time of day it was.
Yeah,
I think
that
the
too.
thing I'm realizing is that everything in the show looks like it's at nighttime. Why is Helena having these therapy sessions at like 11 p.m. and
she's
able
busy
to come into Harley's office at any time she wants? Everything's nighttime in this show. It feels like
that's Gotham.
So yeah, that was a little strange.
That's Gotham, but then also if you want to do a high school story, high school doesn't happen at night. generally. So you can't have both of
Right.
those things.
Right.
I'll never forget the episode where Helena comes from like a party or something, and then in her outfit and Harley in her outfit are like, "You want to do a quick sesh?" That's so nuts. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then we start getting people getting hypnotized. We start with Gibson. This is a weird thing to say, and I'm going to say, you tell me if you feel weird about it. The actor who plays Gibson, he seems like he was born to be hypnotized. Like, this is like the perfect thing to happen to him.
I think that's exactly right.
It almost felt comfortable. I was like, yeah, he will get just hypnotized.
It was the first time that Gibson made sense to me. Really, as like, I'm the guy who is like Harley Quinn's lackey, and I just sort of do what she tells me to do. Like, it almost made me forget that he has another state of being that isn't this. Because it's also so fun for her to like kind of slap this guy around and say, hey, shut up, or go give me this thing. It was like a nice compliment to her character. Yeah. And that actor's pretty good at doing that sort of characterful hypnotized guy stuff.
He's funny. And like, again, parts that felt like the animated series to me, when Harley's like, I want you to go mad. And at first it's like, oh, it's funny. And then it's like really sad and scary that like, he's just stuck in that mode until we break hypnotism. And it's like problematic, but that's like the Harley Quinn vibe, is like, we're going to tiptoe around like a mental health talk in a kind of twisted way. So it really worked for me, that I was like, oh, that's like so scary that she just told him to go mad or whatever, and he's like, or lose his mind, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. But the fact that God, Helena, God bless you, girl, but she was like, my friend is acting, and I'm taking her words here, my friend is clinically insane, so yeah, let me just take him to my therapist, because that's how you fit. Like, she's not the Pokemon Center, the mental health Pokemon Center. She don't just take him to her to be like, can you fix him? Yeah. So it's just so like convenient and silly. But then she gets hypnotized. She knocks out Barbara. Alfred again pulling out the goat powers. He has smelling salts just at the ready for when Barbara's knocked out. I was like, whoa, that's, you know what, Alfred Pennyworth, you would have smelling salts handy.
Yeah.
And this is where the plot gets kind of dumb, because Barbara decides that the only way to handle a bad guy like Harley Quinn is to get on her legs again and use the coupler. Just why? Like, they tell me why she thinks that in any way her being able to walk is going to be a competitive advantage in this situation. Because she doesn't even fight until the last scene of the episode. And even then it's for like 2 seconds. And so... yeah. What happens is Harley comes back, they have like a choking fight that doesn't get even too intense, and then she loses. And it's like, what? that was it? Or Helena comes in, they like fight briefly. I don't understand why they did this. It just feels weird and inappropriate.
Yeah, I really don't know either, because they've been seeding this the whole show. Like, it was Harley and Helena need to figure out who each other are, and Barbara Gordon is gonna walk. Those are the things that have been like from day one, episode 1, shoved down our throats. And you're right, I don't quite understand what the idea behind this is, except we need to like put Barbara in the position where she is able to kill Harley Quinn, I guess. But like, she doesn't need to walk to be able to do that.
Exactly.
So yeah, it felt bad. I did not like it.
I don't get it. I truly don't. It's like, is this her going Super Saiyan? It's like, I can go mobile mode. Just like, really weird. The visual of it is weird. It feels bad. Everyone's like, this is dangerous. And she's like, I have to do it. And, you know, when it was like, Lady Shiva and you are going to fight and you might die, I sort of got it. You want to be able to physically fight. I guess I get it. But like, what are you getting out of this? What are you doing here? Just strange. Deeply strange.
And then there's all this talk of like you're risking your life or whatever, and nothing happens with it.
Yeah, she doesn't even get like hurt by it, to my knowledge.
Yeah, it's just strange.
And of course, we discover very quickly that the hypnosis is broken, just like that TNG episode where they're all gamers. It's broken by a flashlight. But Quinzel's already gotten into the clock tower. I love that Wade is just there. Hey, what's up? Who are you? Oh, I'm hypnotized now. No shit. Again, if they flipped the genders of this, her kissing him non-consensually in this moment would be so much worse. It's already bad. But the part where she like hypnotizes him and then makes out with him, I was like, oh, God, just flip this and it feels even grosser. Wow. Amazing. Amazing job.
Yeah. That part was really dark.
Yeah. I know that this is your boyfriend.
Him to kiss her and then she murders him. That was like, fuck. Birds of Prey. Jesus. And I'd been writing in my notes, ugh, Wade, get the heck out of here, bud. And then he gets stabbed to death in this scene. I'm like, wait, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I didn't want this to happen to you.
Take it back. No, I'm fine with it. Then perish.
Right. I mean, finally, like, it's a guy getting killed to motivate a woman, I guess. I don't know. There's something about that. But it just, I think for me, it was less like, don't do this, and more like, it just harshes the vibe so much. It's like too much for me. Because everything else, like you were saying, is so cartoonish. Mm-hmm. Hey, buddy, jump out a window. Hey, Gibson, bark like a dog. What kind of dog? Or what kind of animal? I don't know. You decide. Like, so much of it is goofy.
Yeah.
And then that part is like grim dark.
Rest in peace to Wade. Gone.
Yeah.
But
it does lead us to a good moment. I mean, I think what I like about it is what Huntress then reflects on when she learns about it, which is she didn't tell Harley Quinn his name or who he was when she was hypnotized.
She told him when she was not hypnotized.
Yeah, that was just like in therapy when she was sharing with her therapist, which is kind of a thing the episode doesn't quite resolve thematically. This question of like sharing too much. What do you need to be protective of when you live this double life or try to save the world or whatever?
Yeah.
Because Huntress compromises all of this information. She compromises everybody's identities in the clock tower, and it gets Wade killed. And the fact that Wade is there is because we've compromised our identities, because Alfred brought him there in the first place. Why aren't we mad at Alfred for like getting him here? Those things aren't really reckoned with, and maybe that's a theme that would have been explored more in like a second half of season 1 or a season 2. Mm-hmm. Is, well, do we need to create a separation? Do we need to create a separation between the crime fighting in real life? And if not, how do we navigate that? Which I think would have been interesting. But
it's a weird like security question for you.
Yeah.
Do you name your friends by name to your therapist?
I thought about this exact thing. I don't know if this is weird, but I don't say anybody's names in therapy.
That's not weird. That's not weird at all. I don't either.
Yeah. I don't know if people do. Maybe that's, I've wondered before, like, am I being like too kind of protective of, or too guarded or something like that? But I don't refer to people by name.
No, I don't think that's too protective. I mean, like, God forbid you ever see them in public, or they see you with someone and they're like, oh, that's girlfriend of the podcast Amanda. Like, you don't want that to happen. So it's that, right. And also just it's like HIPAA goes two ways. You're not obligated to share those things explicitly with them. They're not obligated to ask you.
I know. It's just so funny that I like name people explicitly by name on our podcast, listened to by people who I've never met before. Right.
Yeah, but the people on the podcast are less likely to run into people in your real life than your therapist is, believe it or not. Because your therapist is based in New York City, correct?
Right.
So
yeah,
like,
I suppose that's true.
but I see where you're coming from. Like I only towards the end of the journal that I was keeping last year stopped using names. I should have done it the whole time because I realized that if somebody found this journal, they would like problems would occur. And as a result, I also in therapy, I just refer to people by character archetypes. I'm like the one who works too much, or my roommate, or my best friend who I do a podcast with. Like you've been my best friend I do a podcast with, and she doesn't know your name.
That's who you are, right.
So I, something to think about. But I kind of wish Helena like had that thought even for 1 second. Like, why did you name everybody?
But I was thinking about the same thing when I was watching the episode of like, yeah, I would never do this.
Yeah.
Therapy.
That's the excitement for her, but she's like so happy to be explicit that's why she's doing it.
Yeah. I do think like if I were to start doing that, I would very excitedly do that.
Yeah.
Which is relatable, I guess.
A couple other things that happen though. There's the break-in. Alfred has a gun at one point. He gets hypnotized, but then he's not really hypnotized. He pulls a gun on Harley Quinn, which is badass.
He says, "Buttle this." So silly.
Alfred, you're a
king.
king.
Little goofy guy. Put that down.
Helena, when talking to Reese about her identity crisis, also slaps his butt gently.
Yeah, I caught that. I saw that.
Great. A little emotional moment that's punctuated by a butt touch. That's romance to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take care of Harley and everything's fine. They have a great big fight scene. This is one of the better fight scenes of the show. And
Pretty good fight scene.
Yeah. Lots of good emotion, and you can actually see things. I feel like the fight scenes early in the show, I was like, I don't visually understand what's going on. But then we get 2 moments of like winks and nods here. Reese and Alfred, while like in synchronicity sweeping the background of the scene, are cleaning the tower. And one of them talks to the other one and mentions Robin. Yo, do you know Robin? Didn't he have like a kid that hung out with him? Oh, yeah, Robin. Oh, that's a whole other story. Do you think they would have done Robin in season 2? I hope so.
Yeah, because there's also that moment where Harley Quinn was like, "Oh, all of you, like, how many are you?" And Huntress, it seems like she was gonna say, "Well, there's other people other places, but we're the only ones in the clock tower," or whatever. Like, I think they've made a lot of references to Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, like named these people by name. So I fully believe they would have gone there in a season 2, which I think that would have worked for me, to have like one of these Robin guys, and if he's Nightwing or something else or whatever name you want to give him, comes into town, and Barbara and Huntress know him, and Dinah's meeting him, and now we're talking about like being Batman's kids and how do we feel about that. Like, I think that would have worked.
How amazing would it have been if the episode split, instead of introducing a new Greg, was like, oh, Robin's back and Helena's dealing with another guy. Except I guess like they have a crush, they have a romance, and that wouldn't make sense with Helena and Robin. But still, like, yeah, I would have loved to see Robin in season 2 or 3 or whatever. Get the guy in there.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then there's the moment you referenced, which is right as everything wraps up. Alfred takes a call. Apparently, he's been having regular calls with Bruce Wayne, and just like talking about his like legacy and hey, the girls are doing all right. Thanks for checking.
Yeah, and then Batman just hangs up on him. And he
Perfect.
checks the phone like, what the fuck? Did you just hang up on me?
Absolutely on point. Jerk. He would do it.
Yeah.
He would say, you jerk, while smiling to himself and like sitting back in his chair.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that relationship. That's the episode, though. It's kind of a clean finale.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, but it's good. I think it's solid.
It is. I have a quick casting note that I just learned while we were talking. Okay. The actor who plays Gibson, Rob Benedict. Yeah. Do you know what else he's known for these days?
Oh, I do recognize that face. Is it a face thing or a voice thing?
No. It's a face thing. You haven't watched it. You haven't watched the show that he's huge on. Okay. Well, nowadays he's on like Lucifer and like NCIS, and he's on The Boys actually. So maybe, I don't know. Do you watch The Boys? I
No,
don't
I
think you
don't
do.
watch The Boys.
He's the main villain of Supernatural.
Okay.
He's God.
Okay.
He plays the character
Okay.
of God.
Okay.
Isn't that
Yeah.
so weird?
Okay.
My brain does not want to process. This is the thing.
Okay.
This is the thing about this type of show is like a regular dude. They'll just point to him and be like, "Yep, that's Jesus Christ," and you're like, "What? I guess I believe you."
Okay.
So Gibson plays God on Supernatural, or played God on Supernatural when it was a thing. He's the big bad.
God is a villain of Supernatural?
One of the villains. There's like a million villains, but he's the big bad. Yeah.
Huh.
I'm just trying
Should
to
we
tempt
watch
him.
Supernatural?
Yes. I wanted you to say it. I just fucking hook, line, and sinker to you. Yes, we should watch. Omen said if we Chatz covers. Omen's one of our friends of the podcast. Said if we, sorry, I'm like catching my breath. If we watch Supernatural, she's going to stop listening.
Really?
Yeah, she like doesn't want us to cover it. I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. I also don't feel like we're chatting Supernatural is where I leave for good, and Alan and I stop being friends.
Was this said like unprompted, or what was the context of this?
We were talking about Supernatural. We were talking about like 13 under 13 stuff. And other friend of the podcast, Nick, was like, "Oh, Supernatural had 15 seasons, just a couple more than 13." And that's what she said.
Interesting. I would love to pilot it. Yeah, I don't need to watch it, but
one of my best friends is the biggest Supernatural fan out there, so we'd have people to recruit if we did that. But that's more than an undertaking. It would also
take us like 5 years to watch or whatever. It'd be pretty funny.
Anyways, God on Supernatural. Story notes from this episode.
It seemed like Helena and Harley were gonna kiss.
Yep. Yes.
That was cool. Okay.
Unfortunately, the 2020 movie makes this basically explicit.
I liked that it was such a confusing moment for both of them. Like I don't think it was Harley's intention, and then they both kind of found themselves in that spot of like, wait a minute, are we about to kiss right now? And then they didn't.
Yeah.
So I thought they played that pretty well. There's that early conversation between Reese and Helena where I felt like every one of his lines started with, well, or come on.
Yeah.
And that was a little annoying.
I wonder if those are like filler lines from the act from Shemar Moore or what, or if that was in the script.
Yeah. I felt like he was tossing in a lot of those. It was funny to me that Huntress being hypnotized, but as far as we know, she was not told by Harley Quinn to be an asshole, but her hypnotized self was like very snarky and evil.
Yeah. Good for her.
Which was fun. Yeah.
We have two questions at the end of that you came up with.
I do. I just want to say I thought it was thematically very satisfying that we returned to this idea of vengeance and do we kill and that kind of thing, because Dinah's had a moment of crisis related to that. Helena's had a moment of crisis related to that. Yeah. And Barbara's always been the one to tell them, we don't kill, it's not what we do. We have to do things the right way. And now in the last episode, for Barbara to be the one who's going to do this, and for Huntress to talk her down from killing the person who has like fucked with Huntress the most and betrayed her trust and used the information Huntress gave her to cause all this harm. Mm-hmm. For Huntress to be the one to say like, look, I get it, but you have to take your own advice. And I love the line where she's saying, like, you always told me that, we vengeance is a way to like dull the pain, but when we felt less, we were less.
Right. Ooh, yeah.
That's good stuff.
Very, very written by a writer line, but I'm into it.
Yeah, I really liked it a lot. So I thought that was a pretty satisfying emotional climax for this show.
Mm-hmm.
I did have... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to segue to your two questions.
Well, who would you have cast as Batman?
2002?
Yeah.
Either James Vanderbeek, if you want to go for like sexy CW.
James Vanderbeek.
Dawson's Creek.
From Dawson as Batman?
Yeah, I want to be like gruff.
Interesting choice.
2000s man. I just googled
he was only like 20 something in 2000.
Okay, we need someone a little older.
Yeah.
Usher. Usher Raymond. Let's fucking go. I need to go older. Josh Hartnett's too young. Everyone's so young. Ben McKenzie's a sweet little lad. God, these lists of like 2000s men are great. I don't know. Maybe get a little spicy. Get a little British with it. Give me like Orlando Bloom or something.
Okay.
Yeah, be weird.
I'm looking up actors born in 1970 because they would have been 33 at the time.
Okay.
And let me tell you.
Yeah.
How about Nikolai Coster-Waldau?
Really good. Really good. I'm Batman. That's my Nikolai impression.
Okay, let me give you another one. Actor born in 1970. How about Ethan Hawke?
I'm on the same list as you. Yo, please. Ethan Hawke as Batman.
How about Nick Offerman?
I am the Knight.
Oh my God. How about Matthew Lillard?
I feel like he still would be a little fresh faced in 2002.
Probably.
That's like peak Scooby. That's like Scooby Doo.
Slowly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vince Vaughn.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess actually you need to go older, because if this is going to be like Huntress's dad, this guy would need to be like in his 50s or something.
Somebody on my Twitter recently realized that Vince Vaughn was really hot in the 90s and like posted a bunch of pictures from Swingers, and I was like, where were you? First of all,
we've been new. Yeah, come on.
We've been new. Also, we should rewatch Swingers the next time we hang out.
I talked about Swingers the other day. I can't remember why.
That's a movie I want to watch with you, because I watched it with you the first time and it felt like not like it's such an Alan and Michelle movie, but it's like a movie you watch with your boys, you know?
Yeah.
It's
I
nice.
went back to actors born in 1950, so that they'd be 53, because I think the age might make more sense there.
Okay.
Ron Perlman.
I can't imagine him in the suit.
William H. Macy.
Getting there.
Ed Harris.
Ooh, really good. Actually, really good. I feel like he's played Batman.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Oh, Gabriel Byrne.
Whoa. Just that's like a haggard, like a grandfather Batman. Yeah. I just wouldn't want him to talk. He doesn't have like the voice for it. He's got a great voice, but not.
Oh.
Patrick Stewart.
It's done. No, it's done.
It's done.
Actor born in 1950. Bruce Boxleitner. It's done.
Whoa, my God. You just hit me like a ton of bricks.
It's over.
Was he doing B5 at that
point? Pack it up. Go home. Nah, B5's done.
He's good. He's good to go.
Yeah.
He had no Brucey other gig going on. Brucey B. That's perfect. You nailed it. Bruce Boxleitner as Batman.
He'd be the perfect Batman.
I can't believe it.
Perfect Batman.
Seriously.
And his name's Bruce. Come on now. Come on. The guy's name is Bruce.
Shut up.
It was right there for us.
It was right there. He was in Tron 2.0 in 2003. That's a great game. Outer Limits. I loved it. It was a good video game. Okay, your other question, and let's be quick about this.
Skip list.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what you should watch. You tell me yes or no. I'm just going to go down the list and you tell me yes or no. How about that?
Yeah, I'm just going to open up the episodes. Okay, I got it.
Okay, Premiere. Yes.
Yeah, you watched the pilot, yeah.
Of course. Slick. This is the Liquid Man.
Sure. I think you do a little Harley scheme. It's a nice table setter. I think we liked it one fine.
Yeah. Agreed. Pray for the Hunter.
This is in the maybe pile. Like if you want the how do metahumans work in this world, but it's not necessary. But I'm gonna have 3 categories. It's like you gotta watch it.
You could watch it,
and you don't need to.
Okay. 3 birds and a baby. Hard yes.
That's a yes. That's a hard yes. Yeah.
Okay. Sins of the Mother.
Yeah. I think that's important.
Some things will not make sense to you if you don't watch this episode.
Yeah.
Primal Scream.
Gang of Thieves.
It's a little bit of Harley.
It's a maybe. That's a maybe one. I think it was fun and fine, but not necessary.
Yeah, the biker club is really fun.
Yeah.
I just completely lost my order. Why is the order wrong now?
Split.
Split is next.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no on Split.
Yeah, I remember this one not being great.
Lady Shiva.
Nah.
If there was a season 2 and they followed up on this, then maybe. But I don't like this episode very much.
Yeah, I would say no, honestly.
Nature of the Beast.
This one should be important, but
Right?
it doesn't feel like it, so I'm gonna say no.
Same. It's a great idea, and they should have followed up on this plot line, but this is not how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to have the full arc of like Dinah's mom is killed, and then she has this moment of testing her commitment to not killing, so I'll give it a maybe, just because like on paper it's important, but in practice it doesn't really feel great.
Agreed. Gladiatrix.
No.
Firm no.
No.
Reunion.
I liked it. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's got some good stuff, and you get to confirm Reese and Helena together.
Yeah.
Feet of Clay.
Maybe. All you really need to know is that Helena reveals her identity to Harley. Otherwise, it's like kind of a funny B movie type.
Yeah, I laughed at this one a lot. I thought it was entertaining.
Yeah.
This is a maybe. This is definitely a, like, do you want to just watch some Birds of Prey? I put on Feet of Clay. It's a decent episode.
Yeah.
And then Devil's Eyes, I think we can both agree is a yes.
Yeah, it's a yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
So
So
that's the show.
I don't know. Should there have been more of this show? If we're closing it out as a 13 under 13, like on the injustice meter of this being canceled, what's your take?
So you mean Injustice like Gods Among Us, like the DC thing, or
Yeah, the fighting game. Yeah, let's play a little bit of that.
okay. Do I think the show should have been canceled? I mean,
yeah. Like, what's your take on that?
I think that the reason it got canceled is what's interesting to me, and I think it's a case of terrible management behind the scenes. Just like the whole, like, the writers don't see the dailies, they don't get to tell the actors how to pace the dialogue, the episodes, like, plots airing out of order, like, that's all stuff you could have just fixed by the network caring a little bit more and giving the production team time. That's, if you made this show again, I think it would be awesome. You can make it today. I think that there's an audience for this today, but it was canceled because it was mismanaged and put in one of the shittiest time slots in prime time. Simple as that. And it's not always an easy sell to be like, yeah, girl power, and it's connected to the Batman world. Like, you're kind of biting off two different heads right there. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to me that this one didn't last, because this genre of TV, I'm sure, felt a bit long in the tooth in 2002.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Batman movies were like like a decade old or something. I don't know. Yeah, it just is trying to ride a few waves that are on their way out. So, but then it's preceding the wave of CW DC shows.
The Greg Berlanti universe.
Right. So it kind of occupies a weird space in that regard. But this is one that I think shows the core ensemble is great. I think the character work is wonderful. I've found the characters of Barbara Gordon and Helena Kyle especially super engaging throughout the show. So I think there's like a really strong core to this that, you know, you have a shaky first half of your first season, you build out some other bads, like you let Harley Quinn sit in Arkham for a while, and you figure out, well, who else from the Rogues Gallery do we want to incorporate into this? You get Poison Ivy in there and what that's all about. And I think you could have gotten a couple pretty solid seasons out of this. But it makes sense to me that it didn't last, because it was kind of like doomed to be canceled in a way. But I think it was decent and pretty entertaining throughout.
Definitely. I think that you could make this way cooler today. And the thing is with the Berlanti universe is that they come in waves, right? Like, there's just years and years of oversaturation, and then people get sick of keeping up with it, and then they stop watching them. That's what just happened. We're in like a post Berlanti universe right now. Because like the Arrowverse is basically wrapped up and like the Flash show ended and all that stuff just like kind of summarily ended. And so now it's like, do people want a superhero show actually? Because like Peacemaker did really well on HBO, but that's because, you know, you have star power like John Cena at the front of it. And otherwise, what people want these days is not necessarily earnest superhero shows like Birds of Prey, but more like stuff that's like social commentary, like The Boys or Invincible. I think that's the superhero stuff that tends to do better right now. Right. So maybe it wouldn't do super well if it aired today. I just, like, as a fan of these characters, like you said, would love to see this more. And as we'll talk about after the break, a modern re-envisioning of these characters could be super interesting.
Yeah.
So, unfortunate, 13 episodes in and out. Such a crowded time in television. Hard to get any show off the ground. I get it. But there was potential in Birds of Prey for sure. And I think we both got quite a kick out of it and its wacky antics.
Yeah.
But let's close the book on 2002 and jump forward 18 years, Magellan. Because right after this musical break, we are going to be discussing Birds of Prey 2020.
I ain't tryna. Yeah, ain't tryna be cool like you. Wobbling around in your high heel shoes, I'm clumsy. Made friends with the floor. 2 for 1, you know a bitch by 4. And 2 left feet, you know I always drop. First thing a girl did was a bop. And the whole damn cake and the cherry on top. Shook up the bottom, made a good girl pop. You ain't even here to party.
Welcome back to Chatz of Prey. Last week you may have noticed that I said hello and welcome back, which feels really weird. I'm still Alan, he's still Magellan though.
Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah, that's true.
Snappy dialogue. Got that right.
Snappy, relatable dialogue. Girl power! So, folks, as we mentioned, we've wrapped up Birds of Prey 2002. There are no more Birds of Prey television shows to our knowledge. There's the Harley Quinn animated series, which I've heard is great, but it's not really in the Chat's wheelhouse, in that it's not old. And, yeah, we wanted to find something that was more specifically related to Birds of Prey. So we went back just a couple of years, cracked open our HBO Max accounts, and we watched Birds of Prey, the 2020 film that takes place in the DC Cinematic Universe. This film was written by Christina Hodson. It was directed by Kathy Yan, and it was released February 7th, 2020. Magellan, could you tell me what happened in Birds of Prey?
I would absolutely love to. Now, by Birds of Prey, do you mean the what? The Emancipation Birds of Prey.
You backed out of that big bit so quickly. It is.
You know, when you type Birds of Prey subtitle into Google, it tries to give me the subtitles, which is not what I want.
Birds of Prey. And actually, do you want to say it? I don't want to say it for you. Go ahead.
Let's say it together.
Oh gosh, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Birds of Prey and the whole thing.
Yep. Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn.
I had to take my headphones off so I wouldn't hear you and mess up my sync.
Here's what happens in that film. After splitting with the Joker since the end of Suicide Squad 2016, Harley Quinn, played by Margot Robbie, joins superheroines Black Canary, played by Jurnee Smollett, Huntress, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and Renee Montoya, Rosie Perez, to save a young girl, Ella J. Basco, from an evil crime lord, Ewan McGregor.
Oh boy.
What do you think of this film? So, maybe first of all, I have a lot of questions. What do you think about it? And then I have other kind of framing questions.
I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I had a great time. Yeah. If I had any issues with it, it was that
too short.
Too short. Yeah, it was over too soon. I had a fucking fantastic time with it. No complaints. I didn't give it 5 stars on my Letterboxd because I only give. I'm a very picky gal. I don't give 5 stars to everything. But it was the highest 4-star I've ever given, probably.
That's nice. I like that.
What about you?
I did not know this movie was so fun and good. Why aren't people telling me that more often?
This movie needs its stands. I mean, here's the thing. February 2020. Really rough time to release a movie in theaters. Really unfortunate time.
Yeah, extremely so.
Number 2. and someone made this point in our Discord, totally valid. You are undoing what was like one of the biggest disappointments of superhero cinema with this movie, because Suicide Squad 2016 was so overhyped and was so disappointing to millions of people who were like excited to see these characters on the screen and like a new Harley Quinn, and we got the gang together. It's gonna be part of the universe. Terrible. People freaking hated Suicide Squad 2016.
What was so bad about it? I never did see that one.
Well, I think it was one of those, like, the script was gutted several times, and a lot of stuff was cut from it that was like going to be really important. So it feels like a weird, like, zombie or Frankenstein of like 5 different scripts and director changes, and it just seemed like a mess of a movie, way too like grimdark and annoying from what I hear. I have no interest in watching it. I've heard the Suicide Squad 2021 movie is great.
That's the good one, right? That's the James Gunn one?
Yeah, correct. That's the one that they also spun off into Peacemaker, the show we were just talking about earlier.
Got it. He's not in that first one.
James Gunn? Oh, or Peacemaker?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he is.
The first one has Will Smith's in the first one?
Yep.
Okay. The only part of that movie I've ever seen is the clip where he says, "We're some kind of Suicide Squad."
Exactly.
All I've seen.
Yeah, that's the movie where Jared Leto was like a super freak and like went
right. He like sent his poop to people or whatever. Or something weird. I don't know. He's a weird guy.
He's weird, and it's funny that this movie is about breaking up with Jared Leto because he's fucking weird.
Right.
So yeah, like it's that's part of why people aren't telling you like this is great, and like I do think that you're at a disadvantage when it's like a movie like made and about and by women.
Right.
That like it's just not it tends to not perform as well in theaters, and that sucks because the movie rules. It's great. We had a great time.
Yeah.
I think there's probably other reasons that I'm not aware of. This is like weird for us because we're not DC Cinematic Universe people, but yeah, just this like little peek into it. I was like, oh man, this made me want to watch more DC stuff, even though I know none of it is this fun. What about you? General thoughts, concerns, questions, comments?
Yeah, I think I know very little, like you were saying, about the DC. I don't know a lot about the MCU. I know even less about anything DC Comics movie related. I don't know if I've seen a single one of them.
And you see Man of Steel with me?
No, I have not seen Man of Steel.
Oh, it's bad.
I've heard it's bad.
It's bad.
I don't think I've seen a single one of the modern DC movies. I think the last time I watched a movie about a DC character, it was The Dark Knight Rises.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure.
11 years ago.
So yeah, I had no kind of like preconceptions or connections. I just knew like, these movies are bad, I think. And so maybe this one will be fine. But this movie is so visually inventive and interesting. The script is so tight and funny and like does this impossible balancing act of tone where it's like cool and like fuck yeah, but also kind of absurdly cartoonish and making fun of itself constantly. It's a high wire act, this thing, and it's a marvel of a piece of storytelling. Oh, whoopsie!
Put the cuffs on him, boys.
Sorry. And then it turns into a superhero movie in like the last 20 minutes or whatever. It gets kind of boring, but
it's a little quippy. It's a little like
big fighty like action time. But even just the first like 15 minutes of this film are unassailably perfect cinema.
Yeah. A beautiful distillation of Harley Quinn's character that incorporates like ideas from the animated series and the comics. Like the fact that she has hyenas is from the comics. That's like such a weird deep cut thing that they pay homage to with the one hyena Bruce. I read that she doesn't have 2, by the way, because the CG was too expensive. And so the way they did it was they had an actual like dog that they CG'd over to be a hyena. And they were like, we can't do this twice. We can only have one of these. Sorry. So that's why she only has Bruce. It incorporates a great villain who feels menacing and creepy, but also over the top in the right way. He knows the kind of movie he's in. And it spends a lot of time, and this is maybe where it comes down to the 4-star rating for me. It spends a lot of time setting up its team. And then a very little time with the team together.
Yes. Yes.
So if I have any complaint of this, it's like, it's an amazing Harley Quinn movie. It's a pretty good Birds of Prey movie.
Yeah, it's like barely a Birds of Prey movie. It's funny to me that it's billed that way. It's my understanding, I was talking to a friend of mine about this today, that the Harley Quinn subtitle was like added on to it when it was already out.
Probably. That sounds right. I believe that.
Like a week or two in the process of it being out. They should have billed this as a Harley Quinn movie, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it was also billed, but in some places as Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey.
Interesting. Okay. That to me feels like the right, just based on how this is balanced, because she's narrating the story. It is essentially about her. I mean, you could argue whether or not she goes on a character arc, because she's like, I'm the scary one. I'm going to kill and be cool and be my own protection. So yeah, this is a Harley Quinn movie, and the Birds of Prey are part of it.
They're in it. The fact that it's only in like the final 5 minutes where they're in costume and she's not even in it anymore, and it's the rest of them being like, you know what, we decided that we're gonna be vigilantes. Let's call ourselves the Birds of Prey. And it's like, wait, that was gonna be the movie. But
yeah,
this is all fine because Margot Robbie is the best live action Harley Quinn there's ever been. Sorry to Mia Sara, nothing but respect for you.
Hold on, yeah, relax.
No, come on. Come on. Margot Robbie's
they're different.
Harley
They're doing
Quinn.
different things. Margot Robbie is doing the classic interpretation of Harley Quinn. She's doing a pitch perfect, like, I am the cartoon Harley Quinn brought to life.
Yes.
Mia Sara is doing her own thing. That's like not really Harley Quinn, but really good. And I don't want her name to be besmirched and sullied on this podcast.
I just had like a belly laugh because I felt like I was at a bar talking with a friend right now, and when you're like, they're doing their own thing. I had like a really sweet moment there. Nice. Anyways, some big highlights. Number 1, canonical bisexual Harley Quinn. Let's fucking go, boys. That scene at the beginning where she says, I had a couple of guys, in my life, and a girl. And the girl they show is Poison Ivy in the Batman the Animated Series art style. What I'm just saying, that's like the most popular DC ship of all time. I think they make it canon in the Harley Quinn cartoon. I'm not sure. But we love to see Poison Ivy and Harley together. I wrote in my notes, and I'm sorry because we're not supposed to like Kanye West anymore, but I wrote, D's motherfucker, D's Rosie Perez. Holy shit, Rosie Perez is fun in this. And she is not supposed... What? Give you a second to breathe and make fun of me for that bad joke?
No, go ahead.
There are different... This is like a contentious character, right? Renee Montoya, the cop that ends up helping the Birds of Prey and leaves the police force. She's older than most interpretations. And I believe I read an interview where Perez was like, I loved everything about the movie. I didn't like the part where the studio kept being like, should we get somebody younger or can you act and look younger? Because she was saying, like, I think that they should allow, like, if we're going to make this whole movie about, like, inclusivity and the different types of women, they should have an older woman on the team. It's okay that she's a little bit older than the rest of them.
Right.
It's way cooler that way, to me.
Yeah.
You were saying?
I don't even remember. That joke totally wiped my brain. I'm just on the Wikipedia page for Christina Hodson, who wrote the film.
Yeah.
And
what else she got?
Some of her other credits. A movie called Shut In, a psychological horror film thriller from 2016. Unforgettable, a drama thriller from 2017. Not familiar. Bumblebee, the Transformers movie.
She wrote the Bumblebee movie. Wow.
Uh-huh. She is writing an upcoming Batgirl movie that's coming out this year. That has Michael Keaton in it.
Huh?
Oh, maybe it's not coming out anymore because it was unreleased.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is the show that This was like
this
the
is a
biggest
show.
No. I'm sorry. This is a movie that was going to be Max exclusive, and it got pulled because they were like, "This isn't going to be good enough." It was the most controversial one of the HBO Max cancellations because people were like, "It was done. It looked really good," and then other people were like, "Mate, you guys don't know how movies get made, but this looked bad." So very, very contentious. I didn't know that was her working on that, but that makes sense.
She wrote the screenplay for that Flash movie that's coming out this year.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
And then she is co-writing the next Fast and Furious movie after Fast X.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah, she's also part of the like squad that was assembled by James Gunn to figure out what the heck the DC universe is going to be.
Okay.
So we'll probably see more Christina Hodson DC scripts, which the script was fucking fire, so that's great. I'm happy about it. Makes me think maybe I should watch the Bumblebee movie.
2018 is a dark time for a film. It's amazing to me. I know it shouldn't be amazing to me. It's amazing to me that a woman is like in the depths of the most important superhero cinematic universes right now. Like I know like Kathleen Kennedy's like running Star Wars and stuff. Like we need more of this. This is like great that she's a part of that whole squad. I'm just pointing that out because it's always seemed like such a boys club. And I know it's like, we give like a woman like one movie, but like she's like in it, like she's like defining the DC cinematic universe with other people.
Yeah,
I digress.
Cool.
But yeah, I was talking about Rosie Perez and the whole ageism thing.
Yeah, right. Right.
I felt weird about how I want to kind of just like do character by character really quick. I felt like her arc was a little bit rushed. It was kind of like, I'm a cop, I'm doing cop stuff, I really want to find this guy. And then Harley in the narration is like, most cops only get their job done when they leave. And she's like, I'm leaving. We get her girlfriend for 30 seconds. Ali Wong is just like her girlfriend, I guess. Mm-hmm. She spends half of the movie in a shirt that says, I shaved my balls for this. Which is quite funny. Rosie Perez is a national treasure. I just like seeing her on screen. She's funny. She's gorgeous. She's awesome.
Yeah, I think a lot of the characters in this one suffer from
not being Harley Quinn.
Not being Harley Quinn, and the movie, for the sake of time, having to assume that you kind of know who they are already.
Yeah.
Like I have seen versions of Renee Montoya, like in Batman the Animated Series, for example.
Okay.
But I only know that because I just opened the Wikipedia page for Renee Montoya just now and was not familiar with the character. So, and I think, that to me, that's honestly the weakest part of the movie is the parts that are like, and this part's kind of like a cheesy 80s cop movie, but then they just do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you didn't really buy yourself a get out of jail free card on that one. But I get it, especially because the rest of the movie is doing such a great job of being one of those like classic crime thrillers, that like high action crime thriller that is very tongue in cheek, and so for the Renee Montoya stuff to not quite ascend beyond the like tropes of its genre feels a little lame. I don't know.
Yeah, agreed.
So her stuff I was least interested in, but Rosie Perez was awesome.
She's just fun to see, and once she's like involved, like her in that whole theme park sequence is like so fun because she's shooting people, she's looking cool, she's making quips. I'm like, yeah, there you go. We got the character where they needed to be.
Yeah. What do you think of Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna pick Dinah Lance next because
that's what I was gonna say.
I have a big crush on Journey Smollett. The thing with this movie is everyone's hot. Men, women, everyone is just really hot. It's like not distracting. Ewan McGregor, 100%.
Chris Messina.
Chris Messina's nuts. We can't talk about him.
We'll talk about him in a minute. Sorry.
Hold on.
Dinah Lance.
Journey Smollett, incredible. Journey Smollett, more like it, because holy crap. That scene where she's singing at the beginning and then the like waveform turns into her name. Beautiful little bit of like text editing.
Yeah. By the way, all the like graphic design stuff.
Title cards and stuff. Yeah.
So so good, so clever and quick and cool looking.
Yeah,
Nice
somebody
little-
put a lot
nice
of good
little-
work into those. This
layer.
is a interesting reinterpretation of her. They don't like talk about her mom or anything. It's just like, yeah, she's a singer. She has this power. She's got a great killer voice. We naturally hide that until the last moment of the movie where she screams and Harley Quinn rides the scream into a bunch of bad guys, which is so sick.
Mhm. There's a brief moment where someone's like, "You have the same power your mom has."
Oh, sure.
but-
Maybe they pay
But
lip
that's
service.
it. Yeah, there's a brief thing.
She's punchy. Later in the at the end when they're all at the restaurant, Montoya is like, "It's really impressive that you're able to punch people in those or kick people in those really tight pants."
Mhm, mhm.
They just love each other. This is the best thing about this ensemble is that they really like some of them romantically and some of them just like, "You're cool. I think you're really cool, and I like
Yeah.
that we get to hang out with each other."
Mhm.
And that's just great. And I think she is one of the cooler members.
Mhm.
That brings us to Ewan McGregor's wife. Sorry. Ewan McGregor is Mary Elizabeth Winstead's husband. Let me get that right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're married.
Interesting. Okay.
Helena Bertinelli. A different backstory for Helena than we're used to. AKA Huntress. Get it right. She's not the crossbow killer.
This was pretty fun. I really liked how, I mean, it's the movie doing the most kind of like making fun of itself because it's just totally, and this must have been partly course correction from how you're describing Suicide Squad 2016.
Yeah.
For a character to be like, "I'm the Huntress," and everyone's like, "Oh, cool,
is it?
yeah, the crossbow killer or whatever." And the bit Mary Elizabeth Winstead plays it in such a fun way where she's totally serious, but it's almost like she's an improviser on stage who's like halfway into the character and like kind of doing a gag. The part where she's trying to leave when they're all together at the end, she's like, "Well, I killed the guy I was trying to kill, so I'm gonna go. Bye." And they all go, "No, you're in this now. You're part of the Birds of Prey. You got to stick around to do the big fight." Okay, all right. I guess I'll stick around. It's a fun like half committal choice that I think Mary Elizabeth Winstead sells in a fun way.
Yeah, and like the moment at the end where they fist bump and she's like, "I think I will partake in this." It's like you're such a dork, and because she's the kind of person who spent her whole life training in the middle of Italy. Like she didn't like develop that many traditional social skills, so she's just a weirdo who's really like good looking, knows how to ride a motorcycle, knows how to shoot a crossbow. But that's it.
Yeah,
it's almost like it's like a send up of the Huntress character, like,
and of Batman too.
Oh yeah,
like let's make fun of this type of, I'm gonna go train, for decades and then come back and fight, and yeah, okay, but you're kind of a dork when you do that. So
exactly,
I liked it.
I wanted more of her. I wanted more of everyone, honestly. And then of course Ella J. Basco, goddaughter of Dante Basco, Chatz alum, by the way.
Chatz alum, yeah.
From Hook, on our commentary chats of Hook, as well as our coverage of Avatar: The Last Airbender. As Cassandra Cain, a character who used to be mute for a lot of the comics, which they pay lip service to by having her not talk for the first 5 minutes, and then she's like, anyways, what's up, guys? It's me. I don't know enough about Cassandra Cain to know that this is a wild deviation from how she's portrayed, because she's like an assassin, and she's older. They chose to make her a child here. How did you feel about Cassandra here?
I similarly didn't know anything about the character and how she quote unquote is supposed to be, so I was just like, okay, I guess this is a thing that there's like a kid who hangs out with Harley Quinn. Yeah. I thought it was fun because it gives, once they're together, it gives Harley Quinn kind of a different dynamic to bounce off of. And
yeah,
I liked how Harley kind of discovers like her own sense of self-worth and like badassery from being this kind of twisted mentor to this kid, and seeing herself and her life through Cassandra's eyes. Like when Cassandra comes to her apartment and Harley's like, I know this place is a dump. And Cassandra's like, this is awesome.
Yeah, so cool.
That moment where Harley's like, okay, yeah, I am fucking cool. Yes, let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed that. I think it was the right. I don't have any opinion on if it made sense to alter the comics character in that way, but there being a kid character felt like the right choice to me.
And it's tough, right? Like, she's super duper young. I don't know how old LJ Vasco is, but I'm pretty sure she's 2006. So 14 years old. Oh my God. Oh my God. And she doesn't, it's not the traditional, like, oh, kid actor is super annoying. She's like funny and gets along with everyone, and she fights, and she, isn't like too precocious. She's just a kid. She's figuring things out. She's amazing at stealing things. I love that sequence where she just walks down the street and robs every single person, and then the cops are like, what? No, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
And her decision to swallow the diamond being the like driving force of the movie and why we need to protect her is quite funny.
Yes, agreed.
And then last but not least, the man himself, Ian McGregor, Roman Sionis, the villain of the movie. Oof. Can he do any wrong? Can you do anything wrong? I don't think so. He's just so shitty.
He's extremely, extremely fun in this film. Just gobbling up the scenery. That one of my favorite scenes, the one where he's talking with Chris Messina, who's basically playing himself in this movie.
Stop! I can't accept that that's Chris Messina. I refuse.
From the newsroom. Yeah. But they're talking, and he's like, a crossbow guy? What? I like crossbows. I want to own the crossbow guy. And then Diana Lance comes in, and he gives her a tour of all these things that he's like stolen or just shouldn't have. And he's like, when he's talking about the shrunken heads, and he's like, yeah, so this culture, they like shrink their enemies' heads and whatever. And now it's like an ornament on my wall. Ew. So cool. I love that.
He might as well be saying, like, funny. Isn't that fucked up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that weird that I have this? Like, yeah, it's super duper lampshading that type of character, but he's so silly. Once he puts on the mask and goes serious, like, he manages to be silly and threatening.
The scenes where he's genuinely menacing and like intimidating people and unpredictably cruel work. I think sometimes it's hard for me to look at Ewan McGregor and be like, okay, I have to see the character. Like, suspending my disbelief was tough, but I don't think that was because of him. I think he was doing a pretty good job.
Yes. Whereas with Victor Zsasz, I'm like, I can only process this if I don't think about Chris Messina under all of that makeup. It's the only way this. Victor Zsasz, a very famous, not very famous, but a very commonly used Batman villain, because he's a little bit of a sicko and he's an easy villain to punch. He likes cutting people's faces off. He's like a classic. He's in the Arkham games in a big way. Like, the writers love Victor Zsasz, and him being Sionis' like lackey, who's like, I don't care, dude. Just tell me who to cut open. And the best Chris Messina scene is that same one you're talking about, where he keeps interrupting them to just tell Sionis more things. He's like, so anyway, so I have this mask or whatever. And then from the other side of the room, he's like, Harley Quinn broke out. He's like, don't bury the lead. Like, what? It's so funny. Yeah. I love a pair of shitty dude villains. They're great. What were some other things that you really liked about the movie or wanted to dive into?
Let's see.
We talked about the visuals, that police break-in scene that gets rewound, because the film has this like cool narrative conceit where Harley is like so eager. She's an unreliable narrator, and so she's so eager to like get to the good parts of the story that she forgets the exposition, and then this movie spends the whole middle third expositing. And then it's like, okay, now let's get back to the beginning of the movie.
Which is so smart. It's such a great way to pace it. Because...
Yeah, if you're going to do all this exposition, you might as well do the action first and then do the talking afterwards.
Yeah, because those, again, that first like 15, 20 minutes. I mean, let me just walk you through some of the things that happen, right? There's like an animated intro where Harley's explaining her relationship trauma with her parents and her Catholic school and the Joker and different things like that. Yeah. And then we do like I'm crying and I cut my hair in the mirror scene. Yeah. And that involves her cutting her ponytails a little bit shorter, which is so funny. I'm tattooing myself. I'm throwing knives at the wall at my ex-boyfriend's face. I'm buying a hyena and feeding somebody to it, pouring Cheese Whiz into my mouth. Then I'm going to the roller derby and like beating people up at the roller derby.
To Barracuda.
Yeah. Well, no, this whole time I Hate Myself for Loving You is playing.
Oh,
which is a great song. By the way, the music in this movie is impeccably chosen. So good.
Doja Cat.
The fact that we are like heading to the final confrontation and it's every trailer has like the slow dramatic version of a popular song.
Yeah.
And in this movie it's Hit Me With Your Best Shot, but it's like the slow dramatic like hit me with your best shot kind of thing.
It's like so funny.
It's so
I usually hate that trope very much, but it's funny in this because it feels like, they know a little bit.
Right. It feels self-aware. So we do that great montage. We do this really interesting oneer in the club where we're like fast forwarding and seeing Harley bop around to different parts of the space. And we have this great moment where she blows up the chemical plant. She breaks into the police station with the glitter bazooka. And then the movie does a really good job of calling back to those kind of anchor points as it introduces you to the other characters and brings them into the story. So yeah, I just think that opening set of scenes is bananas. And then they can use that to kind of make the exposition more interesting as the rest of the movie goes on.
There's actually a fan theory about that police station break-in that
it's like a real gun.
Yeah.
But in her story, it's not.
Exactly, because she's hitting them with beanbags, and maybe she just doesn't want to accept that she's like killing people, or she feels like weird trauma about that. So she, in her unreliable narrator story, is like, "Oh, I blew them up with confetti," but
yeah.
Either way, I like because this is an R-rated movie. They could show that, but instead, it's like it's almost more clever that she's knocking them out with beanbags.
Mm-hmm. And there's a moment where she shoots a guy in the head too,
and like kills him.
Yeah, when it's the guy who's like about to one of the bounty hunter guys who's gonna take Cassandra and is holding her. Harley like shoots him square in the forehead.
Oh, fun. Okay.
But maybe that's a moment where it's like that feels like a justifiable kill
justifiable
or something.
Violence. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's great. The egg sandwich scene.
Iconic. This is and it's an anchor point for the movie. It's so important.
Mm-hmm.
She wants comfort. She wants the thing that makes her happy and like feels safe. And women eating, we're like enjoying the act of people eating and enjoying food together. And she wants to just have a fucking egg and cheese sandwich, and that's okay. It's beautiful. It's triumphant. It's like filmed like pornographically, like the scene where the guy is like cracking the two eggs. It looked like a Burger King commercial. Babbage has made this burger or this sandwich. By the way.
Yeah, I believe it.
Margot...
I thought it was so funny. The part where at the end of the chase when she drops the sandwich, and then she's talking about like basically like I put so much at risk. Like I'm learning that this lifestyle, it could hurt the ones that I love, and it's like her egg sandwich scattered on the floor.
That's what matters there.
Yeah, so good.
She's got her priorities in order. I respect it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. I was just gonna say the trivia about that was Margot Robbie's allergic to chicken egg whites, so that was
Huh.
it was not chicken eggs. I think it was ostrich eggs. No, not ostrich eggs. That would not make sense. It's a different type of egg.
Interesting.
I digress.
Hmm.
Control F, egg, duck eggs. There you go.
Makes sense.
Yeah, there's some other stuff. The way the dispatch Sionis is very fun and like simple, where it turns out he's like got a grenade and or one of Harley's grenades, and what's her face? Cassandra Cain is like, "Oh, I'm sorry. We're all being honest with each other. Like, I just want you to know that I stole your ring." What ring? Oh, kaboom! Kick him into the ocean. He blows up. We see the chunks almost hit the camera. Fucking sick.
Awesome.
Very sick.
So, okay, this is my question for you.
Please.
Is there anything to be discussed in watching this right after the 2000s show? Because they're both called Birds of Prey.
Correct.
They both share a few characters, but they're also so different.
True.
I'm wondering if that viewing them in close proximity did anything for you.
I think that yes, like when I come out of 13 under 13 shows, often one of my thoughts is, how would this work today if we could just do it again in the current TV landscape? And you probably wouldn't do Birds of Prey in the current TV landscape because it's not like marketable. It's not a 3-season arc kind of show. I think that they could rework it and make it about like plot arcs and character development entirely and not do villain of the week stuff, and it might succeed. But it would work really well as a movie. And I think this is an example of like a first movie in what I would have hoped was a Birds of Prey series. That it would be this loud, colorful, brash thing, as opposed to 2002's like kind of drab, gothic, almost like dark, evil in aesthetic. I think it's just a different way to interpret that. And in 2020, you need a reinterpretation of like what is Birds of Prey and redefinition. So it's so interesting holding these next to each other and going, one is dark and brooding and leading into the aesthetic of the time. The other one is deliberately bucking the trend of our time, where superhero movies are gray and boring, and instead it says, what if we're colorful and loud and feminine and, you know, and middle finger to the world. It's just like, it's going for different things. And it was really fun comparing those two, where one is trying to fit in and the other one is accepting that it doesn't, which in my opinion is more true to like what the Birds of Prey should be. They're outside of the standard type of superhero story.
Right.
That's a lot of words. I hope that made sense.
No, that does make sense. Yeah, I think it's interesting to think about both as expressions of feminine power and what that looks like, and how the 2000s Birds of Prey, I think, in some ways effectively kind of grounds that in the relationships between the ensemble, but it's also steeped in like a certain era of TV that had a particular aesthetic of feminine power that feels a little like outdated, maybe. And then this movie has certainly a different approach that I was a lot more excited by, and that I thought was a lot more fun. But it's interesting. I don't know.
I think that this movie is also more timeless than the O2 show, because
right.
Like I said, when you just follow the trend of what's popular, you're gonna look dated immediately. But if you deliberately buck that trend, then it's like, oh, you were unique at the time, and 5-10 years down the line, I'm gonna go, oh, you know, I want something colorful and actiony and like loud. I'm gonna watch Birds of Prey 2020. It doesn't feel like an artifact of the past. It feels like an artifact of its own little present, its own unique present.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about it. I think that they both have a lot of merit, though. I don't want to say this as like 2002 is bad. It's just going for something completely different.
Right. Yeah, I think this is I think kind of what I'm saying about it is like Birds of Prey 2002 took like tropes and a style that was kind of outdated at the time that it was doing it and did it well. And this movie is doing its own thing. And that's kind of two different things.
Now imagine if Mia Sara did a Marilyn Monroe sequence where she's in the red dress.
Oh my God, that sequence. I forgot about it.
Yeah. One of the most visually impressive sequences that they really did. That's like an actual Marilyn Monroe performance that they pretty much just remade, which is sick.
Huh.
Yeah, it's a great movie. You should all watch it. It's breezy, it's funny, it's light, it's entertaining. I wish they did another one just like it.
Yeah, this movie, by the way, that's just a good example. Like, this movie does a decent job also of depicting a world where like terrible male characters have a lot of power that they exert over women without like trauma porning that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
For the most part, there's that one scene where Sionis is like has the girl up on the table and like that's a whole fucking thing.
Cut her clothes off, yeah.
Yeah, but like the fact that, you know, it's the scene where he like slaps Harley Quinn in the face and that slap brings us to this just like frenetic dream sequence that previews her like kind of reclaiming the power in this situation. There's just something about that thematically and visually that's really cool to me, that we don't use that as a moment to like reduce Harley Quinn or weaken her. We use it as an opportunity to display her inner strength and sense of the world that she dreams for. And like, that's just it's just cool, I think. And I think a lot of movies can miss the mark on that sort of thing, but I really liked it in this one.
Me too, man. It's a very self-aware acknowledgement that the depictions of things like that have changed. Because just compare J.P. Manu's character in Birds of Prey 02, who's like, I want to have sex with you, and his superpower is related to the metaphor of being a pervert, of being, you know, a predator. Right. Whereas Sionis does not have a superpower that makes him a creep. He just is a man with power, and that inherently makes him creepy. We don't have to couch it in a metaphor because he just is that. Like, right. I think it actually hits a lot harder without having to be like, I'm gonna, do nasty stuff. He doesn't have to do that. I don't have to do a character like that. He just has that one moment where you're like, oh my God, he could make people do whatever he wants if he's not stopped. And that's enough to tell you, yep, this guy's creepy. This guy's disgusting. We need to defeat him. And they even still manage to be a little silly with it, where like Harley a lot for the first third of the movie or so keeps listing out people's grievances with her. There's this like great series of sequences where she's running away and everyone she sees is like, Harley. I just think it's funny that she lives in a place full of people who hate her. Like, good for you that you just,
and she like doesn't know their names
and doesn't move. She's just like, I still live here. Like, whatever. The sandwiches here are good, and I don't know any of these guys, but I know they all hate me. And when they do the list of grievances for Sionis, if you paused on that at all, one of them said things he doesn't like about me, and it was like, I called him like Sai or something. Like I called him a nickname, or I yelled too much. And then one of them was like, just having a vagina. Like just being a woman made him hate me.
Yeah, one of them was voting for Bernie also.
Whoa, confirmed. Harley Quinn votes for Bernie Sanders. That's true. Also, Bernie Sanders exists in the DC film universe.
Yeah, that's fun.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, I think that the movie has some really like smart stuff underneath all the silliness, and that's what makes it super entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple quick hits, just the quickest of hits.
Yeah.
Literally a pair of them, but they're both important. Number one, that speaking of like references to other things, when Harley's leaving the police office and she goes, "Hey, I know that guy," and points to a wanted poster. It's Captain Boomerang from Suicide Squad 2016. It's brief and not annoying in the Marvel way of like, you'll never guess who was there. Post-credit sequence. And then the other one, this is just a small moment. Somebody else called it out. I noticed it as well. In that final fight scene, Harley offers Dinah a hair tie. And it's just like, you need a hair tie? Yeah, I got you. Because that's important when you're fighting people. And it was just like a nice moment of like, girls helping out girls.
Yeah, that's fun.
They
like
decided to
that.
include that. That's a really sweet little moment.
We like that.
Yeah. Did you have anything else about Birds of Prey 2020?
No, that's pretty much it.
It slaps. It's got a great soundtrack. That's what I got.
Nice.
And that, dear listener, brings another chapter of 13 Under 13 to a close. I believe that's 5 completed, right, Magellan?
Yep, that's right.
Wow, 5 out of 13 done.
Yeah. So after this episode, we're going to take a little bit of a break on the main feed. We're going to take about 2 weeks off from new episodes, but I think you'll probably get like reruns of Patreon stuff, right?
Yeah.
We could do that. And then we'll come back after that with a Should You Watch episode, which will drop. Let me give specific release dates here so that everybody is on the same page. That Should You Watch episode will release on May 21st. So have we decided that we're watching that one thing?
Tiny Beautiful People?
Tiny Beautiful Things.
Tiny Beautiful Things, yes. We have decided
Yeah.
that.
Okay, cool. So we're going to watch the Hulu show, Tiny Beautiful Things, based on the life of Cheryl Strayed, the advice columnist. Dear Sugar, right?
Yeah, good job.
Okay. That was all from my head, actually. Believe it or not.
I could tell, and that was really impressive.
Thank you. So yeah, we will do that for May 21st. It sounded like a few people in the Discord were interested in that. And then we will start our 6th 13 Under 13 series, which will close out this trio with a return, our final return to the Ben Queeniverse.
Yes.
Watching Powerless. So you want to tell us about Powerless and what to expect?
I do. The year is 2018. The name of the place is Babylon 5. 2016, I'm so sorry. Follows the staff of an insurance company specializing in products to protect defenseless bystanders from the collateral damage of superheroes and supervillains. Created by Ben Queen, starring, and I'm not kidding, Vanessa Hudgens, Danny Pudi, and Alan Tudyk.
Not to mention Ron Funches.
And Christina Kirk, but she's like, the Ben Queeniverse. Christina Kirk, the GOAT. And Ron Funches. Yeah, what's going on? Is this show good? It was recommended to us. It's an official DC licensed sitcom. It's not gonna be good, dude. I smell it, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
What if it is? But what if it is?
I'm ready for this one to be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the next 13 Under 13. What's next, Nigel?
Should we tell people anything about after that? Probably not yet, right?
No.
Yeah, we'll talk about our plans for the next chat season later. We got time in June.
Cooking.
In May.
We're cooking up stuff for you
but
guys.
We've got some ideas cooking up for an interesting season, we think. Cool. Yeah. So that's that. So let's do plugs and stuff and then get the heck out of here. You can get in touch with the show in a few different ways. You can email us at chatspot@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/r/chatspot. You can, in both of those places, send us any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions. You can request to be on an episode of us discussing Powerless. Now's the time to make sure that you secure your spot. You can also watch Tiny Beautiful Things and send us your opinions to be read on that episode because we're recording it in a little while from now. So do that. You can also find us on YouTube, Chatz, a television podcast on YouTube. You can rate us on your podcast wherevers, Apple Podcasts and, Spotify or I don't know, something wherever you can rate things.
Stinky Pod.
You can join fellow listeners on our subreddit, reddit.com/r/chatspod, and on our Discord, which is a benefit for all patrons, past, present, and future, at $1 a month and up. Also, if you are a patron at $3 a month and up, you get access to our $3 a month and up, you get access to our twice monthly bonus content, which includes one episode chosen by us and one episode suggested by you all on a wheel that I spin and to see what wins. $5 a month and up gets you thanked at the end of the show as a Chatsy Watsy Deluxe Comfort Plus patron. Here are our $5 patrons as of right now. They are Stefan 6, Pat and Nick are the brothers at Infinite War, Michael, May Louise, Marcus, my mom, Lee, Kat, Justin, Jen, and Arthur. We have a website, chatspot.com, at Camillustrator, designed our podcast art. And Alan, you're on a few podcasts. I forgot. This is the part I skipped by accident. Tell us about those podcasts you're on.
Yeah, you can hear me on a lot of different stuff over at scalelinemedia.com, including the Creature Quorum, where we review different creatures from Monster Hunter and Pokemon. You can hear me on Oops, More Anime, where we're talking about Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. Now that it's back in season 2, we're changing our format up. And I'm also on The Garnet Wager, which is a currently on pause, not done, but on pause podcast, where we develop a weird cinematic universe of podcast and television meta humor, and it's great. My other main gig is Talking Marketing. That's a bi-monthly marketing chat hangout podcast that I do for the American Marketing Association's Boston chapter. We got some really great episodes. The month of April, we have 2 dropping because we have a special promo ep for a friend of the pod, Louie. So, yeah, check out Talking Marketing, in that case, wherever you listen to podcasts. What about you?
You can find me on a video game podcast called Super Smash Echoes that I do with my friend Justin, where we play video games related to the Super Smash Brothers franchise. Super Smash Echoes. Check it out. Here are some other things we want you to check out. Some chatsums. Little snackies between now and next time. Alan?
What?
What's your chatsum? Your last chatsum of Birds of Prey.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay, I have 3 TV shows to tell you about. They're quick. I have so much free time right now, y'all, because like a lot of social stuff is moving around and life is challenging. So I have a lot of time to just sit around and watch TV. It's the only thing my brain ever wants to do. I love it. I would love to do it for a living like we do here. It's great. Some shows I've been enjoying recently. Beef. It's on Netflix. We were originally going to Should You Watch It. Didn't sound like there was a ton of interest. And also, one of the main cast seems like a fucking asshole. And a creepo. So we're not covering Beef. I still loved the series. I think it's a beautiful story about the human condition and loneliness and companionship. And if you're willing to give it a couple episodes of your time, because it's only 8 episodes, you'll be so engrossed. Or sorry, it's 10 episodes. You'll be so engrossed. I don't want to tell you too much about what it's about, other than a road rage incident goes spectacularly wrong, and we integrate different stories about Asian identity, Asian American identity, and it's got an amazing cast, except for that one guy. Number 2, this was a show recommended to me by a friend of the podcast, Arthur. It's called Heavenly Delusion. It's a new anime that's basically a post-apocalyptic like romance story with 2 frame narratives going on that I'm really loving. It seems like it's building up to something really cool. That's Heavenly Delusion. And last but not least, and I will talk more about this one on Should You Watch, Mrs. Davis on Peacock is one of the weirdest shows I've ever watched in my gosh darn life. It is, what if one of the creators of Big Bang Theory and one of the creators of Lost made a show together about religion and absurdism and AI, and it's so weird. I can't even begin to tell you what it's about, but if it sounds interesting, it's on Peacock. It's Mrs. Davis. There's my TV wrap-up for the week.
Whoa, nice.
Thanks, pal. What about you?
Transport yourself back to 2003.
Oh,
okay.
Yay.
It's February of 2003. You're sad. Oh, Birds of Prey just ended. Bummer.
Oh.
I guess it got canceled. And then you're like, what's going to entertain me? Shoot. There's just nothing good on. Nothing good in the theaters. And you have to wait all the way until September? Yeah, all the way until September for the perfect film to reach theaters. It's a little PG-13 comedy film. It has a little music in it. I wouldn't call it a musical, although there is a musical of it now. It stars Jack Black as Dewey Finn, who's pretending to be Ned Schneebly, but really wants to be a rock star. It's School of Rock. I rewatched it over the weekend, and by goodness, that is a fun time at the movies. I highly recommend School of Rock if you haven't seen it in a while. I learned, so for years, my students have been calling me Jack Black.
Yeah.
Which, I was always like, what? Because I'm A little big, put on a little weight.
The guy with a beard. That's all. You have longer hair. That's all it is.
Big guy with a beard, longer hair. But watching School of Rock, I was like, shit. I've based a lot of my teacher persona on Jack Black in this movie, haven't I?
On Dewey Finn. Damn.
Shit, this movie's like a core memory, isn't it?
Uh-oh.
Interesting. But he does gold standard PBL in that movie. So what are you gonna do?
We love gold standard PBL. Problem-based learning if you're nasty.
Project-based learning.
Fuck. No, but
try.
it's problem-based learning if you're nasty. It's project-based learning if you're correct.
Right.
I love that.
So School of Rock. It was fun. Watch it. Check it out. That's all.
Or don't. Live your life. Live your truth.
Or don't. Yeah.
We gave you TV. We gave you movies. And we gave you an episode of the show. So thank you for listening to our coverage of Birds of Prey. We hope you enjoyed it. And we hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you to Magellan for being the poison ivy to my Harley Quinn. Because although we're far apart, they can't keep our hearts from each other's.
Oh.
And thank you so much for listening to Chatz of Prey.